Welcome to Anime Explained. Today we're hitching a ride with Truck-kun to explore the wacky world of Konosuba. In this realm of comedic chaos where every corner is a surprise and every character is a riot, Konosuba shines bright. In this video, we will uncover what makes Konosuba a standout in the Isekai genre. We'll dive deep into its hilarious characters, like the optimistic Aqua, who's about as useful as a screen door in a submarine, explosion-loving Megumin, and their masochist Darkness, who's surprisingly into taking one for the team. We'll also explore its unique storytelling, satirical take on fantasy tropes, and impressive world building. Pack your bags because we're getting isekai'd, and trust me, it's gonna be a bumpy ride. The magical journey of mispronunciations and retakes. You have no idea how long it's taken me to record that first segment. So welcome to this self-proclaimed goddess and reincarnation in another world, where even saying the title feels like a tongue twister. Seriously, it's like trying to recite Shakespeare after downing a bottle of Hemlin. Our adventure begins with our valiant hero Kazuma, who bravely leaps into action to save a damsel in distress, only to end up roadkill for the isekai genre. Such a shame, really. Talk about heroic faceplant into the afterlife. But fear not, for Kazuma finds himself in a dreamscape straight out of a celestial waiting room, where he meets Aqua, the goddess of rebirth. And let me tell you folks, this ain't your grandma's angelic welcome committee. I think this is a good time to talk about the intro. It's like the theme song is on a mission to inject caffeine directly into your eyeballs. I mean, who needs coffee when you've got an intro that could power a small country? And speaking of power, let's not forget Aqua's divine commentary on Kazuma's heroic sacrifice. Spoiler alert, she's about as impressed as a cat with a hairball. But wait, there's more. After a brief stint of existential crisis and divine sass, we dive headfirst into the plot dump, where Aqua lays down the law on defeating the Devil King. And hey, Kazuma gets to pick one thing to bring with him along for the ride. Naturally, he picks Aqua, because nothing screams epic quest like dragging a reluctant goddess along for the ride. Off they go to the Adventurers Guild, ready to register and conquer the world, until they realize they're as broke as a politician's promise. And thus begins their epic quest for cash, because who needs saving the world when you can barely afford the guild registration fee? Aqua, the goddess of, well, questionable decision making. When faced with the daunting task of raising some funds, she opts for the classic strategy: begging, because nothing says divine intervention like hitting up a random priest for spare change, am I right? But alas, our dear Aqua's prayers are answered by a follower of a completely different deity. Talk about divine intervention gone wrong. Still, he coughs up enough cash for our dynamic duo to get registered at the Adventurers Guild, and thus begins our journey into the wild world of stats and classes. So fun. Now, let's talk about Kazuma's stats, shall we? Average across the board except for intelligence and luck, where he's basically rolling nat 20s like it's nobody's business. It's like the universe looked up at Kazuma and said, let's make him a solid B student with a horseshoe up his. And then there's Aqua. Off the charts in everything, except intelligence and luck. It's like she's the poster child of beauty over brains. But hey, who needs smarts when you've got divine beauty? As our heroes gear up for their grand adventure, we're treated to a montage of Kazuma actually putting in work, while Aqua, well, let's just say she's more of a supervising from a comfortable distance kind of goddess. And don't get me started on their cozy barn accommodations. Talk about roughing it in style. But fear not, after months of barnyard slumber parties, our heroes finally realize they have a mission to fulfill. And what better way to kick off their quest than by diving headfirst into a quest way above their pay grade. Because nothing screams success like biting off more than you can chew. Right? Episode 2. An explosion for this Chinibiel. Because what's an adventure without a healthy dose of existential crisis and giant toad encounters? right? Picture this. Kazuma contemplating the meaning of life, the universe, and why Aqua can sleep until noon while he's out there dodging toads like it's a twisted game of amphibian dodgeball. Classic Isekai shenanigans, am I right? But fear not, dear viewers, for when Aqua finds herself on the wrong end of a toad's appetite, Kazuma swoops in to save the day. Because nothing says dynamic duo like rescuing your goddess from becoming an amphibian snack. To those who don't tell, I'm being sarcastic throughout 99% of this video. Get used to it. And just when you thought things couldn't get any weirder, enter Megumin stage left. Crimson eyes, a penchant for explosions, and a charm that's as explosive as her magic. She's like the fireworks show you never asked for but can't stop watching. Kinda reminds me of Domestic Girlfriend in all honesty. Ah yes, Megumin, and her legendary explosion spell. The kind of power that can level mountains, but also leaves her stuck in place like a statue after a museum closes. As long as you ignore all of those Night After Museum Closes films, I don't remember their names. But let's not forget the real MVP of episode 2. Darkness. With a name like that, you know she's not here to play nice. And when she sets her sights on joining the party, you can bet things are about to get kinky. I mean interesting. Interesting. Gotta keep it PG. So buckle up folks, because in the world of Konosuba, every episode is a wild ride filled with toads, explosions, and a whole lot of chaos. And we wouldn't have it any other way. Episode 3. A panty treasure in this right hand. Because what's an adventure without a little underwear thievery and cabbage attacks? Am I right? Here we witness the grand finale of our party's formation, where darkness, the embodiment of chaos and kinky desires, insists on joining the crew. Despite Kazuma's best efforts to keep things PG rated. And who can forget Aqua, the life of the party, dazzling the local drunks with her party tricks. Because when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. And when life gives Aqua magic powers, you put on a show. Meanwhile, Megumin teaches Kazuma the art of magic, with a particular emphasis on explosions. Because why subtle for subtle spells when you can make things go boom? But let's not overlook the real highlight of this episode, Kazuma's duel with Liz, where he pulls off the ultimate heist of her panties. Because nothing says I'm ready for adventure like stealing undergarments in broad daylight. And just when you thought things couldn't get any crazier, cue the Cabbage invasion. Because when you're an adventurer, you never know when you'll be faced with a leafy green apocalypse. But fear not, for our heroes are prepared, with darkness ready to embrace whatever violation comes away, Megumin primed for explosive action, and Aqua, well, she's giving exposition, because every party needs a designated info dumper, right? I mean, seriously, just take a look at Brock. He was an invital member of Ash's team. Until he wasn't. And in the midst of chaos and torn clothing, our party emerges victorious, with compliments flying left and right like confetti at a carnival. Because when you've survived cabbage attacks and panty raids, you deserve a little praise, don't you think? The fast forward button through time. Because who has time for all the minor details when you've got giant toads, death and magic shops to cover? Then in episode 7, Kazuma bites the dust once again. Because apparently death is just a minor inconvenience in the world of Konosuba. But hey, at least it adds some stakes to the story, right? And it's not like he hasn't died before. Or will again. And let's not forget episode 9, where our intrepid adventurers decide to try their hand at...
Stop it. Get some help.
The grand finale, the piece de resistance, where our heroes face off against a destroyer. Not the emotional kind, but the big, mechanical, blow stuff up kind. But before we dive in, let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, there are 2 more OVAs after this episode, but fear not, we'll tackle those later. Now, on to the action. As the destroyer approaches the town like an uninvited guest to at a party, panic ensues and everyone scrambles to evacuate. Our heroes, however, decide to stay and face the music. Well, the giant mechanical monstrosity, that is. Kazuma's all gung-ho about taking it down, proving once again that bravery and common sense aren't always on speaking terms. And who can forget Darkness, the resident aficionado of getting into sticky situations. She's practically salivating at the thought of a good thrashing from the Destroyer. Talk about unconventional hobbies. But fear not, dear viewers, for our heroes have a plan. With Aqua playing Barrier Breaker, Megumin unleashing her explosive finale, and Darkness, well, being Darkness, they manage to bring down the beast. Huzzah! But just when you think it's all over, the Destroyer decides to go out with a bang. Quite literally, as it self-destructs, leaving our heroes in a bit of a pickle. But fear not, for where there's a will, there's a way, and where there's a Kazuma, there's usually some sort of trouble brewing. With some quick thinking and a dash of magical shenanigans, they manage to save the day. Or at least blow up the Destroyer. Victory is theirs. Well, almost. Turns out saving the world comes with its own set of bureaucratical headaches. Like treason charges. Whoopsie daisy. And with that explosive end, our heroes can finally bid adieu to the Destroyer and return to their regularly scheduled chaos. Ah, the joys of being an adventurer in another world. Ah. But before we journey into the next chapter of our comedic crusade, let's take a moment to catch our breath and perhaps ponder life's greatest mysteries. Like, why do adventures always seem to attract trouble, like moths to a flame? But fear not, dear viewers, for our quest is far from over. Join us in part 2 as we delve into the hilarity and hijinks of the second season of Konosuba. Brace yourselves for more laughter, more absurdity, and perhaps even a touch of existential crisis. After all, what's an adventure without a few unexpected twists and turns? So grab your snacks, summon your inner adventurer, and let's embark onto the next leg of our journey into the whimsical world of Konosuba.